One of our quote-unquote jobs as sports fans is to compartmentalize when athletes are yet to hit their primes, when they're in their primes, when they're at their peak, and then when they're getting old and declining or washed up. It's the natural cycle of sports and life. But every now and again, an athlete that doesn't seem to age or get worse at all comes along. An athlete who somehow maintains his high level of performance for decades, seemingly immune to father time. In this case, he just keeps churning out all NBA caliber seasons to the point that even his supporters have lost sense of how long he's been doing it for. I'm talking, of course, about LeBron James. There are no qualifiers for him the way there are for Jordan, like post-baseball 1995 MJ or Wizards MJ, or Shaq, peak Shaq before he got fat, Larry Bird before he had his bad back, or Kobe before he was a starter and before he tore his Achilles. People compartmentalize the bad parts of their careers to remember them at their best. But LeBron doesn't get that privilege because he's never been bad enough. Put another way, LeBron has been in his prime for his entire career. But this video isn't about LeBron's longevity or production, it's about how such an unprecedented combination of longevity and production has him produced more than 4 championships in 21 seasons. Now, 4 rings and 4 finals MVPs is nothing to sneeze at, of course, but we're talking about a player who is supposed to be the GOAT, and the GOAT convo always comes back to rings, particularly against his greatest adversary, Michael Jordan. We all know the GOAT debate is Michael Jordan versus LeBron, and rightfully so, since they're in a tier by themselves. But this video is not to discredit Jordan, although I could do that too. It's to provide important context that explains why LeBron's ring count isn't larger. Yes, I might be biased, but I'm also right. Get ready, here are the top 5 reasons LeBron James hasn't won more rings. Number 5, LeBron James. What, did you really think I wasn't going to put some blame on LeBron? It's not the biggest reason he hasn't won more, but there are instances where LeBron was his own worst enemy. The biggest example is the one that everybody already knows, which is the 2011 NBA Finals, where he went into a shell and cost Miami and himself a title that gets mentioned ad nauseum even still today, all these years later. But I'm going to look at some other disappointments. His first finals appearance in 2007 wasn't anything to write home about either, for as amazing as he was against Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals that year, he was just as bad versus the Spurs, averaging 22-7-7 with a terrible 43% true shooting percentage and a boatload of turnovers. Now, the Spurs were the better team and they loaded up on LeBron, who was a one-man show, but LeBron was certainly not at his best. Then the next year in 2008 versus Boston, he absolutely stunk up the joint in the first 2 games of the Eastern Conference semifinals, averaging just 17 points per game on 19% shooting with 9 turnovers. Yes, 19%. The 08 Celtics were a historically great defense, and again, LeBron was a one-man show, but 19%? Come on, there's no excuse for that. He did get better as the series went along, averaging 31-6-8 on 54% true shooting over the last 5 games, and 37-7-6 on 57% true shooting over the last 3 games in a 7-game series loss where he scored almost half of his team's points in Game 7. Then, a few years later, again versus Boston, with his infamous free agency decision looming, the reigning 2-time MVP LeBron inexplicably stopped playing like LeBron. He was averaging his usual 32-7-6, which is 3 turnovers on a stellar 64% true shooting over the first 3 games of the series, giving Cleveland a 2-1 lead before mysteriously stumbling to 21-11-8 per game with 6 turnovers and a dreadful 47% true shooting percentage over the last 3 games, all losses. Rumors of a teammate giving the business to his mom may or may not have contributed to this, and it's no guarantee that the 2010 Cavs team wins it all even if they beat Boston, but it's another strike on his resume. On the court since then, even in losses, he's produced pretty much as well as you could expect, but his decision to go to the Lakers in July 2018 is one that I didn't like at the time, and even with the ring in 2020, I still think it was a bad choice. The Lakers are a terrible organization living off of the past. They were literally the worst team in the NBA the previous 5 seasons before LeBron went there, and outside of 2020, his tenure has been wasted due to incompetence and bad luck. Not getting Ty Lue, letting Alex Caruso go, but the biggest sin, of course, was trading away some good role players who won a championship for Russell Westbrook. Then there's not trading for Kyrie in 2023 and having to settle for D'Angelo Russell. Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka have no fucking idea what they're doing, and I think had LeBron gone to another team in 2018, he could have more than just 1 ring over the last 6 years. But he made that choice, and it's his fault. Tough to feel too bad for him. Number 4, drafted into a historically bad situation. If you get sick of hearing about how bad LeBron's help was during his first tenure in Cleveland, well, suck it up because it's true. One thing about NBA history is that if you look at the all-time best players, and I'm talking about the top 5 or 10 best players ever, they usually acquire one or more great teammates to help them within the first 7 years of their career. Whether it's by draft or free agency, doesn't matter, they get the help there. I can confidently say that when compared to other top 5 to 10 all-time greats, LeBron had the least support for the first 7 years of his career. There was no Magic Johnson that fell into his lap like there was for Kareem in 1980, or a prime/peak Shaq like there was with Kobe in 97. In Shaq's case, he had Penny Hardaway, who was an All-NBA player multiple times, before Kobe became Kobe. Then you think about some dynamic duos that other stars benefited from, like Klay Thompson and Draymond Green for Steph Curry, or Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish for Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant for Michael Jordan. Magic had Kareem and Worthy. Tim Duncan had an older David Robinson, who was still an All-NBA player, to start out with, but then Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili eventually picked up the slack there. The only real challenger to LeBron's shit help is Akeem, in my opinion, but he's not really in any GOAT conversations. LeBron is actually somewhat at fault here because he was so good so quickly that the Cavs didn't get any high draft picks to rebuild with, and the draft picks they did use during his first tenure there were, well, not good. Zydrunas Ilgauskas was a solid player and a 17.9 rebound type of guy at his peak, but he was horribly slow and vulnerable defensively. Either him or Mo Williams, an undersized shooting guard, that were the best the Cavs gave to LeBron from 2004 to 2010. The Cavs happened to be one of the best teams in the league during that same time span, making an NBA Finals, 2 conference finals, and 5 playoff appearances overall, but it's not a coincidence they became the worst team in the league the moment LeBron took his talents to Miami. Shaving 7 years off of a player's career isn't a small amount either, but that's what LeBron had to put up with. Number 3, injuries. Injuries are a part of sport, but they aren't something that one should ignore when trying to provide the full picture of an athlete's career. For the first 15 years of his career, LeBron was the pinnacle of durability, normally only missing games playoff rest. But even in this time, he was not immune from bad injury luck. Some might say he benefited from Derrick Rose's injuries, potentially sapping a Chicago dynasty in the 2010s, but that's just bullshit. LeBron and the Heat spanked the Bulls and the Rose asses at their best in 2011. For me, 2015 remains the most frustrating LeBron playoff run outside of 2011. It all began with Kevin Love's shoulder being murdered by Kelly Olynyk in the first round, but the death knell was in the finals, when Kyrie Irving's kneecap seemingly cracked in half out of nowhere at the end of Game 1. I mean, what the fuck? Seriously. I've talked endless times about Kyrie's injury costing LeBron the 2015 title, and it's for good reason. The 2015 Cavs went 53-29, an okay record, but from the time they started 19-20 to the beginning of Game 1 of the NBA Finals, they played in 57 games, and in those 57 games, they went 46-11. That's a 66 win pace. When you look at the 8 NBA Finals games LeBron and Kyrie played against the Warriors before KD got there, the Cavs destroyed the Warriors with both LeBron and Kyrie on the court together. This is statistically backed up in plus minus. LeBron certainly didn't shoot great in the 2015 Finals, just 48% true shooting, but he still averaged a monstrous 36, 13, and 9 per game, despite his backcourt teammates all shooting unfathomably terrible. He also had 11 fourth quarter points in the Game 1 loss and 16 fourth quarter points in the Game 5 loss, so it's not as if he was going ghost in the fourth quarter, although to be fair, he did miss a game-winning attempt at the end of Game 1. All in all, LeBron scored and assisted on over 60% of the Cavs' points in the series, which is a superhuman feat, but also an indication of a one-man show with no support. That was before he went to the Lakers, though, and Father Time seemingly has caught up to him and his durability. It started right away in year 1. LeBron had the worst team over the previous 5 seasons at 19-14, while averaging 28, 8, and 7 on 60% true shooting before seriously pulling his groin. Without LeBron, the Lakers unsurprisingly torpedoed and ended up missing the playoffs. LeBron came back about a month later, but his burst was obviously not there. I don't spend too much time on this one though, since with or without LeBron, they obviously weren't beating the Warriors that year. No, the biggest what-if injury of his career came a few years later in 2021. Fresh off of his 4th title, LeBron had the Lakers 2nd in the West while averaging his usual stellar 26, 8, and 8 on 60% true shooting and being top 2 or 3 in MVP combos behind Jokic. That was all destroyed by a dirty play by scrub Solomon Hill, who dove into LeBron's ankle and ruined his season. LeBron missed over a month, came back obviously before he was ready again, and in addition to Anthony Davis's injury, wasn't able to get the Lakers past the Suns in the first round. This early exit caused the Lakers front office to panic, which resulted in the Westbrook trade, which wasted a year and a half of LeBron's prime. Fuck Solomon Hill. A few years later, after a rare display of good judgment, the Lakers got rid of Westbrook and loaded up for a playoff run, even with LeBron tearing a tendon in his foot, caused him to miss again a month. The Lakers made it all the way to the conference finals, and they even had me thinking for a moment that they might actually get LeBron's 5th ring, but instead, LeBron's torn tendon messed up his three-point shot, and combined with Denver's shooting luck, the Lakers were swept despite LeBron averaging an efficient 28, 10, and 10 per game. Speaking of shooting luck, let's dig deeper into that. Number 2, bad shooting luck. We can talk about injuries all we want, and that opens up a whole can of worms since we never know how badly a player is injured because we're not in their shoes. But sometimes people can forget the NBA is a make-or-miss league, and that's all there is to it at the bottom line. Over the course of 21 years, LeBron has certainly benefited from good shooting, such as Ray Allen's three-pointer and Kyrie's three-pointer in the 2016 finals. But the shooting luck I'm talking about is where a team shoots either well above or below its usual standards over the course of an entire series. This has become a more prominent occurrence every year as the league continues to lean more into the three-point shot. Anyway, over the course of the 2006 Eastern Conference semifinals versus Detroit, LeBron's teammates shot a putrid 48% true shooting, down from their 53% mark during the regular season. But the real reason I point this series out is that it went 7 games, and in that game 7, LeBron's teammates shot 9 for 41. That's right, 9 for 41, 22%. It's no surprise the Cavs lost 79-61 in LeBron's very first playoff series loss. 3 years later, he saw the other side of the coin, an opponent shooting way over its head. 2009 Cavs were the best team of LeBron's first tenure in Cleveland, and they looked poised to make the finals, but the PED-filled Orlando Magic, combined with nobody to stop Dwight Howard in Cleveland's front line, came in and shot the 3-ball unsustainably well to knock out the Cavs in 6. It happened again to LeBron 5 years later in the 2014 finals versus the Spurs. Looking to three-peat, the Heat bowed out in 5 games, largely thanks to the Spurs not missing anything from 3. The numbers are right here, folks. Do not get mad at me. In the aforementioned 2021 first-round series versus the Suns, with LeBron nursing a bad ankle and Anthony Davis missing essentially the last 2.5 games, the other role players needed to step up, and instead, LeBron's teammates combined for a 51% true shooting percentage, including 28% from 3, down from 56% true shooting and 35% from 3 in the regular season, respectively. Wow, I can't believe the Lakers lost. The most recent example of shooting luck hurting LeBron is Denver in 2023. LeBron's teammates shot the 3-ball well for a change while LeBron struggled, but again, folks, look at the stats. Denver absolutely exploded from 3, and in a series where nearly every game was close, the margins add up. The Lakers actually won the shot quality battle in the series. The Nuggets just made more of their tough shots, and Jamal Murray turned into the best player ever for 4 games. Totally not a fluke at all. Then, of course, there was this year. LeBron's teammates shot just 28% from 3 after shooting 37% from 3 in the regular season in a 5-game first-round loss to, you guessed it, the Nuggets, with several more seriously close losses. But as much as it frustrates me, making shots is part of basketball. But number 1 on my list is an abomination to the sport and competition at its core. And the number 1 reason LeBron James hasn't won more rings, Kevin Durant and the Warriors. Look, for all the complaining I've done, I understand on some level. Injuries happen. Being drafted into bad situations happen. Bad games happen. Opponents shooting lights out. It happens. It all sucks as a LeBron fan, but that's just how the game goes. However, what Kevin Durant did in 2016 is not supposed to happen. You all know by now, I'm talking about KD joining a 73-win Warriors team, fresh off of blowing a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals to LeBron to win his 3rd ring. Most of you will immediately say, oh well, LeBron started it by going to Miami, and you make me want to rip my fucking hair out. Here's the difference, okay? LeBron built teams that could win. Very good, even great teams, but still beatable. If you're a horror movie fan, think about Friday the 13th and Jason Voorhees. In the first 4 films of the series, Jason Voorhees was a very strong and formidable killer, but he was still a human. He was beatable. Those are the teams that LeBron built. Durant, on the other hand, joined a built team that couldn't lose with him. Now think about the undead zombie Jason from the later Friday the 13th movies, where you couldn't kill him and nobody stood a chance. That was the KD Warriors. Miami hadn't won a playoff series in the previous 4 years when LeBron joined them, while the Warriors were one possession or two from 2 straight championships when KD joined. KD joining Golden State thanks in part to a fluke cap spike, and the Warriors' core members like Steph Curry begging him to join ruined the league for nearly 3 years. It had many negative effects, but as a LeBron fan, the most negative effect it had was on his ring count. Let me be clear, and this is really the most important part. No other all-time great player has had to deal with this happening to them. And if it did happen to them, they would have gotten destroyed in the finals too. Whether you're talking about Jordan, Bird, Magic, Kareem, Kobe, Duncan, all of them would have gotten the smoke. It just so happened that LeBron's best playoff years coincided with the best team ever created, which was created, by the way, primarily to stop him. LeBron was so great in 2016 that it spooked the winningest team in the history of the sport to get on their knees and beg like dogs to Durant in the Hamptons. It's true, the Warriors didn't need KD to be a great team, but they did need KD to beat LeBron and Kyrie. It didn't matter that LeBron averaged 32, 9, and 8 on 65% true shooting in the 2017 playoffs, or averaged a 33-point triple-double on 63% true shooting in the finals. It didn't matter that LeBron averaged 34, 9, and 9 on 62% true shooting in 2018 playoffs, or a near 34-point triple-double in the 2018 finals. Those 2 historically great individual playoff runs were reduced to nothing but 2 more finals losses on his ledger for the haters to laugh at. It's maddening. All because KD wanted to be a vagina and join his 73-win team. By the way, if Durant had re-signed with OKC, who were good enough to win a title with him, by the way, as they were up 3-1 on the Warriors in the conference finals, don't forget, and if not for an explosion by Klay Thompson in Game 6, might not have even made the finals. Talking about Golden State, are we sure they would have even made it back to the finals in 2017 and 2018 had Durant stayed in OKC? We don't know. There are so many alternative dimensions that would be better than what actually happened. As long as Golden State hangs their 2017 and 2018 banners up, I will continue to expose how fraudulent they are. On the GOAT topic, tell me, how many more rings does Michael Jordan have than LeBron again? Oh, that's right, 2. How many more times did LeBron have to face the KD Warriors in the finals than Michael Jordan had to? Oh, that's right, 2. Wow. 2 more rings makes a massive difference. Instead of being 4 and 6 in the finals, LeBron could easily be 6 and 4 in the finals, the same as Kareem, by the way. Only unlike Kareem, he'd have 6 finals MVPs instead of 2. People don't like to admit this since they hate LeBron and are happy that he lost those years, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm right. You can argue that LeBron's second stint in Cleveland from 2015 to 2018 is the best 4-year stretch any player has ever had in the playoffs, and he has just 1 ring to show for it thanks to Kyrie's injury and Kevin Durant. That, in the end, is why he still sits on 4 rings, and at the moment, it looks like he's going to finish there. As a LeBron fan who was old enough to remember the 2011 debacle and all the ringless jokes and memes, I never thought I'd be disappointed with my favorite player having 4 rings, but greed is a powerful thing, I guess. I suppose LeBron will just have to sit at the same table with other 4-ring losers like Wayne Gretzky, Shaquille O'Neal, Gordie Howe, and Joe Montana.